guest today on Cohost Quick Tips is Nicole Cooley. She is a money coach, and she taught a class here about a month and a half ago about sort of taking back your worth and understanding more about where the money you have is going, how to make more money. And it was just super, super informative. And one of my favorite things that she said is that you've got more money sitting in your house than you realized. And I thought, well, what is she talking about? I don't have buried treasure. But then I opened my pantry and I couldn't believe how much food I had. And so, especially in this sort of current climate, it's been great to know that I have those resources there. I didn't realize they were there. I had been a little bit stockpiling. And so now I'm in a better position there. I also have, gift cards and things like that. So it was just really informative and great. She's got tons of tips and tricks and is here today to share some of them with us. So Nicole, I throw to you. What advice do you have for us today?
Thanks for having me. Isn't it crazy how the whole world has changed since my workshop like a month ago?
I know. It's like we try to find something that's the same because everything
everything is different. Yeah. And so I just want to start out by saying, like, anytime I'm talking about money in the last month, I recognize that I'm talking to two totally different groups of people. There's people who have had their income impacted overnight by everything that's going on. And then there's people who haven't. And so there's these kind of two different groups where when we're talking about what they're going through, two totally different experiences. And so I definitely want to acknowledge both of those groups as I go through my tips today, because the experiences are different, but at the same time, we're all going through this level of kind of money panic and concern. So I guess first of all, what I want to acknowledge is, like, for the people that have lost income, if you are in that bucket, like, recognize that you are in survival mode, and that's okay. Like, to acknowledge that, I think, is the first step in that, and that you're kind of going back to, like, making sure your basic needs are met, of like being able to pay your bills, get food on the table. And, if you are just stuck in that space, that's okay. That's where you're at. And, just make sure that you're doing a lot of homework and knowing there's so many resources out there available to people right now that we won't get into because they're covered better in so many places. I do on my blog, though, which we can link to, I do have a blog post that has a lot of my favorite resources that I've found for people that have lost income, kind of all in one place. But there are so many resources out there for people to kind of just get through this survival mode period until you can kind of get to the other side. So definitely take advantage of that in all of it, in any way you can. Get the bills reduced, postpone those bills, just do whatever you need to do to get through this survival mode period. But then I think something that you can also be doing if you have lost your income, or if you haven't, is we can all be evaluating from a financial perspective, the way we earn and spend our money. What is the normal that we want to go back to as we come out of this? What changes can we make that might have a more long-term impact on our finances of the way we earn money? Do you want to go back into the same sort of situation? Or do you want to shift that in the long term? Right now is a great way to be evaluating how you spend your money. And that's the way that's my number one tip for people who haven't lost their income, is to be really looking at, like, what you miss doing and what you don't miss and how your spending has been impacted. Right now is a really great time, if you aren't having to be in that kind of survival mode mindset, to really be digging into your finances and looking at what matters to you, and have your resources been aligning to that.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think this has been a great time for inherent value also. I know my sister and her husband have both been asked to work from home. They both live down in Seattle. And there's been a little bit of wow, I can work from home, even with my child here who needs to be schooled, but I can do that. And then it means that I start work at 9 and I end work at 5, and I'm not spending an hour or 2 hours on a bus every day. And so, the inherent value of that, losing that commute time, maybe that's something for your employer that you go back to do. And they probably can't give you a raise right now. They probably can't offer you more vacation time right now. But if you can work out a deal where it's like, well, I want to work every Friday from home. There are ways that you can feel more value from not having more money. And I think right now, this is, a great time to think about those things.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this shifts, like, the work at home culture long term.
Oh my God, the traffic.
Traffic, I know. And I always, I've talked about this before, where people feel like they can't take a job where they reduce their family's income. And I always, I have this like exercise I put people through, all the money, the costs that go along with going to, especially like a corporate type job, the wardrobe, the lunches out, the gas to get there, the commute time. There's all these energetic and actual financial costs that go with your job. And right now, all of those are wiped away for a lot of people, even if they're still earning their same salary. So it's a great time to kind of evaluate that and see the true impact it has on your finances.
Yeah.
The other thing I really want people to do, and I hope people are doing this as much as possible if they still have their incomes, is to be, when they are spending money, be spending it locally and with intention. And this is something I always talk about, but something that I think I've realized about myself during this pandemic is that I wasn't doing as good of a job of it as I thought I was. I think I'm guilty of pulling the Amazon trigger if I just needed quick and easy. And I really have not been doing that during this pandemic because I just love our local downtown community and, the Stanwood downtown community. And they need our help right now. And so if it was buying books that I needed to buy or Easter basket supplies or whatever it was, like really going out of your way to support the local community right now, even if it means, a little bit more time and energy into it. I think that that's money well spent and well invested. Plus, it ends up being a win-win. I think that it's such a privileged way for us to be able to give back right now because we get so much back from it in return. I know every time we've done like a curbside dinner pickup, like we get so much from it right now being stuck at home as well. Like we get to support a business, but then we get like our fun Friday night that feels more festive. So right. It's like a win-win.
But the other thing too about the whole Amazon and online ordering thing is that the Amazon trigger, like you said, is perfect because it's like, oh my God, I know they have it. It is a quick Google search. I can hit it and then it shows up. But now that the delivery times are so much longer, yes. You're realizing that even if you order it today from Amazon, even, it could be weeks, but even during Prime, it was still going to be at least 1 day, if not 2 days. But now it's making you think, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. Yeah. Where can I get it today? Just having the ability to go down to that local shop and grab, like you said, the Easter stuff, or a quick gift or a card. And it's not the time, obviously, to be doing all of your shopping, but it is, great if you can do it.
Spending in that way is just critical for all of our local communities. So if you're spending money, do it with intention for sure. And then, beyond that, if you are saving money, which I know so many people, myself included, groceries, wine, so there's some costs that are increased, right? Those seem to be the common ones that I've heard. But then there's other stuff where we're naturally saving money. I know that, I had preschool costs that are no longer, and, I was doing a tennis program thing, then that got refunded. So there are some things that are usually part of our normal life that are not happening. And so, you can evaluate that as well as part of your cash flow. And if you are saving money, my kind of another tip is to get it out of your checking account and get it into a savings account, because this is kind of a mindset thing. If we have a little bit more cash in our account than we normally do, we don't have a plan for it, we tend to waste it, for lack of a better term. We just think, oh, we have more money, so we can do this or we can do that. And all of a sudden we've kind of blown through it. So if you realize your account is actually like at a higher level than it normally is because of what's going on, make sure you move that money to your savings account. And so you can be intentional about what you're going to do with it. We don't know what we're looking at in terms of like the economic impact as well from this pandemic. That's kind of what I'm looking at, is what are the long-term ramifications going to be? Like, we don't really know. And so definitely cash is king right now. If you're able to kind of save some, then that's really important. And that goes with your stimulus checks as well that people are going to be getting. So one of the tips that I was just giving to one of my clients is, how can you save 80% of it? And then spend 20 with intention in the ways that we were just talking about. Now, clearly, again, the two different buckets of people, if you get your stimulus check and you don't have income right now, you're using that for your normal bills, your normal groceries, and that's what it's for. And that's what you should be using it for, of course. But again, for the other bucket of people who haven't had income impacted and they're getting this check, you still might have your income impacted. We don't know what the long-term ramifications are going to be. So can you save 80% and then can you spend 20 of it with intention, the ways that we were just talking about before. And the last point too is to even consider investing it back into yourself in some way. I've been working with a couple clients on this as well, where their financial situation is stable. Now they have this other money coming in, and we earmarked part of it for them to invest back in themselves in some training that they wanted to do that will eventually down the road, hopefully diversify their income and make that more stable. So it's a great time to be kind of thinking outside the box in these ways.
There's one piece of advice that's like, if you can only do one thing, this.
Yeah, I think that you need to start tracking. If people aren't tracking, like, I think that provides so much peace of mind. Like, people avoid it so much, but it can be an Excel spreadsheet. Like, it doesn't have to be I have softwares I like to recommend. Some cost money, some don't, but like, it can literally be an Excel spreadsheet. So if you are in this survival mode, like, really sit down and crunch the numbers, and so you're transparent with yourself about what are you really going to need to bridge the gap if there is a gap, right? And what's your plan A, what's your plan B, what's your plan C? Almost take yourself through that worst case scenario exercise. And I think a lot of the times when you do that, you hopefully realize that things aren't as bad as you seem, that like, even if you get to plan D, that's okay. There is a plan D, right? And so you put yourself through that worst case scenario exercise, and then you can kind of push it aside and say, okay, but I'm getting back to plan A right now, and getting back to work, right? So that's kind of, to do that exercise properly, you need to know what your numbers are, and you need to know what resources you do have available to you. But that can be any cash savings accounts, that can be any availability on a credit card that you might have to use, or line of credit, or HELOC, or whatever it might be to help get you through. But have that plan laid out for yourself, because it almost allows your mind to stop spiraling. You almost like let it spiral for a minute, so then you can push it aside and kind of stop the spiral. So that's my kind of number one exercise for people that are spiraling. And that actually works for if you haven't lost your income as well, but find yourself in this kind of anxiety loop. That exercise works really well as well.
Yeah, it's part of that knowledge is power thing that you get. You don't know where your money's going. You don't know how, I go sometimes to the grocery store and I'm like, how did I spend $50? I bought three things. And it's like, well, if I looked at the receipt, if I looked at the prices before I picked it up and put it in, if I looked at the whatever, then I would just know. But instead, I worry that, oh my God, I spent too much at the grocery store, and then I just keep going. And sometimes it's happened that I wonder, how is this so expensive? And I look and there's been a mistake, or they didn't put on the discount that I thought that there was, or they didn't, my phone number didn't go in properly. So just knowing what you're spending, what you have, what you don't have, sort of lay it out. I think that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Nice. So if people want a little bit more advice, if people need a little more guidance, are you open to new clients at this time?
Yes, of course. I'm open to, I do one-on-one coaching with people to help them dig in one-on-one with their finances and their money mindset, which is a piece that we didn't dive deep into today, but it's just as important as the numbers. And also I have a freebie email series that I put out to help people through these times. So if you want a little bit more, I have a 5-day email series called Finding Financial Peace During the Economic Crisis. And it's all about building your financial contingency plan, kind of like I touched on today, so you can get back to a place of stability, productivity, and creativity. Because I know that like we are all trying to kind of find normal these days. And if I can help alleviate that money stress for people, that's like my number one goal right now.
That is awesome. So we'll link to it in the notes at the end so that people know where to reach you. Nicole, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Nicole Cooley, teaching everyone a new money mindset, and we'll definitely have more from her in the coming months, because she is a treasure trove of information and so helpful.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nicole.
Bye.
Bye.